and I got to interview Teresa Magaña from the Pilsen Art and Community House, also known as PACH. PACH is an art gallery, community center, and so much more. It's a place where community, art, and culture come together to create something bigger than themselves. Teresa is a co-founder of PACH and grew up between Pilsen and Little Village. Together with her partner and the community, Teresa aims to support and uplift artists, giving people a creative outlet to express themselves and learn from one another. Recently, in 2020, PACH officially transitioned to operate as a 501c3 nonprofit organization. In the new chapter of PACH's story, Teresa is certain their power to support the community will only grow.
My name's Teresa Magaña. My pronouns are she, her, and I am one of the co-founders and executive director of Pilsen Arts and Community House, also known as PACH. I actually grew up between Pilsen and Little Village, literally between them, 23rd and California, so nobody claims us, so I got to experience both neighborhoods. So myself and my partner, we actually knew of each other in high school, both creative people, and then later in life we reconnected, and we were both on this creative artistic journey. So we started doing our own artwork and just trying to find a way to sell it, get it promoted, and we were having a lot of challenges. So we said, well, let's just do something ourselves. Since we grew up between these two neighborhoods, we actually got exposed to places like the Apple, the Jumping Bean. My partner Pablo got to experience Casa Slan. So we were involved with, like, in our teens, creative outlets and places that we could go to express ourselves. And we realized, like, there's not that many places in Pilsen like that anymore. So we wanted to create that for ourselves and for, like, newer generations that we felt like they weren't getting to experience those kind of same things. So and then we partnered up with Yana Solis, who's a longtime Pilsen artist as well, photographer, and we partnered together to form Pilsen Outpost. So we were originally called Pilsen Outpost, and we became basically a community gallery in the neighborhood. It was like for emerging people, anybody that just wanted to get started, get their first foot in the door, which has led to some artists like doing some really amazing things, fast forwarding so many years later. But yeah, it really just came from this passion of, like, us having and wanting that creative outlet again in our adulthood, and then creating that for ourselves and others, and then also knowing, like, this was going to serve, like, younger community as well. Wow, that's a lot. I'm going to try to summarize it. I think PACH has evolved in a beautiful way in which the community has actually made it the creative outlet that they want. So a lot of times people have been like, oh, Tere and Pablo, like, you guys do this program or you do that, you guys do so much. And it's actually like, no, we do it together with all of you. Anybody that comes in the door and says, hey, I have this great idea, I've been trying to get this project done, I don't have a place to do it, what is your advice? And we're like, well, let's just do it here. We host formal gallery exhibitions. We work with a lot of teaching artists that maybe need a little bit more experience and just want to get that experience of teaching their skills. So this space is also kind of like a shared artistic skill space where a lot of our artists share their own experience with others. We also open the space for workshops, talleres, film presentations. We've had a lot of film students actually film their films here and have transformed the space and then do like a screening here. We do book releases, poetry readings, open mic. We have book clubs. We have a youth Saturday class that's here this morning. We got a printmaking series of classes going on now, and that's actually a big component of this year is trying to build up a printmaking community of relief lino cut and wood cut because we have a lot of maestros that have come out of this neighborhood that have taught so many other young people printmaking, and it's not as accessible anymore, so we're trying to make that accessible for folks as well. And it's been beautiful this year because, shade to the guys, but we've had like a lot of women, femme queer folks like just really diving into the printmaking community that again is not always accessible, and then it's like the gallery space provides the exposure for their work as well. So it's very fulfilling. I will say I was in corporate background for a lot of years way back when, and I was happy to transition into just really finding what I wanted to do, what my heart wanted to do, and just like making that path for myself and for others. So it could be scary, it could be overwhelming. It's not easy. It's a lot of commitment. It can be a lot of sacrifice, but I think just having like committed people and loving and like-hearted people around you, you continue to get that motivation to keep it going. So I'm happy to say that like in my adulthood and having experienced so many things, that I can say that I am doing what I'd love to do. I don't think I could find myself doing anything else. So it's been shifting for many years. I think people kind of feel these heights of it happening a little quicker, and then it kind of dips down, but it's been happening for like 20 years. So we've actually seen that kind of rotation of folks and like just kind of these peaks. And one thing that we're not shy to express is that our space is here to serve our existing and rooted community first, and then everybody else is welcome. So like we have an open door policy and we're inclusive of everything, but we know that what we do is at its core is like for all of us that like have grown up and lived here and are like generationally here as well. And so one of our practices that we implemented last year was any of the classes or workshops that we do, we try to make it as accessible as possible. If it's not free, it's donation based, and we just have a sliding scale, so nobody will ever be turned away. And if somebody, can't even do the minimum, like they just talk to us and we're like, just show up, And the beautiful thing is as people with more accessibility financially are moving into the neighborhood, some people do have that intentionality of giving back and like and being part of the community. And so they are the ones that will choose the full class fee, because they know that's their accessibility. And I think as business owners, as organizations, organizers, and just like community members, like we shouldn't be shy or afraid to talk to like our new residents and set that, expectation, so to speak, or set that awareness of like, you have access, So we're not shy from those conversations, and we just really try to keep open conversations, especially when we're on the street and a space where we get a lot of tourists and a lot of visitors. Schools, maybe from out of state or suburbs and things like that. So we very strategically in an educational way will talk about just the realness of the beautiful cultural part of our neighborhood, but also like what the impacts are, of having visitors like that on a regular basis. So. Oh, wow. The artist name is slipping from my mind. I apologize, but there was an art piece where it's all grass on the floor, and it's just kind of this abstract figure where they're showing their hands going into the grass and like pulling it, but they're like hunched over. So it has this feel of like wanting to connect to earth and ground, but also like this heaviness. Like in the image you could kind of see this heaviness, so it was almost like connecting but also like grounding and trying to like this rooted idea of staying in place. So that really touched me, because the home not home idea was the artists and the writers talked about what that meant to them, and for some people it was about displacement, gentrification. For some people it was the immigrant journey, and for some people it was just about like family, blood family and found family, and what your place of home can be or what it's supposed to be, but you end up finding it somewhere else. So I think that painting itself kind of embodied all of that, to embrace that idea of like home not home. So I think they did because it was a beautiful exhibition in the way that it was laid out. There was writers that created poetry or just written pieces. So it was paintings, and then you could kind of see these plaques and framed wording. So it was nice to be in here, and people would come in. Usually they'll just kind of scan the gallery and look at the art. But people spent like a good hour sometimes just going through each piece and reading, and then, saying thank you at the end, like telling us thank you for having this space in this exhibition. So I think it really did connect with them in a way that maybe we didn't expect, because as artists and curators and doing exhibitions, we're used to a certain kind of response. But it did invoke a lot of conversation, and just the fact that people were hanging out in the gallery space, and it wasn't just let's visit a gallery and look at art, but like really like hanging out and then having conversation with whoever they were with was the impactfulness, I think, of the show. No, I mean, we're coming up on our 4-year anniversary as a nonprofit, because as I said before, we were called Pilsen Outpost. We transitioned to a nonprofit 4 years ago. We're celebrating it with an exhibition we call A Tribe Called Chicago, which is a map which we have here, and we share pictures with you all. But we have right now over 60 artists that have actually picked up a map and committed to painting on it and bringing it back. But we had over 100 entries, so I'm excited to see how many actually come back. And the idea of A Tribe Called Chicago is Pablo and myself were 90s kids, Chicago City kids that were up and down the train lines when we were supposed to be in school. And A Tribe Called Quest was one of the groups that we were really tied with musically because of the messaging. And we just, with it, we celebrate our anniversary, but we celebrate the artists as well that are from all over the city. Because the artist community also sometimes can be divided, and not by choice, but just because the way the city kind of is and the art world is. So this is one of those shows that brings everybody together and gets rid of those barriers and those lines. So if anything, I just want to promote the Tribe Called Chicago. It's going to be up for the whole month of July, beginning July 12th. So I hope people can come out and check it out.